All right, last year I had the opportunity to address the Relay Nation at High Plains, talking about the transformation of the American Cancer Society. And what that means is that the American Cancer Society, with its long history, is rededicating itself to not accept the status quo. We want to do more. We want to accomplish more. And we started with a good news story that today there are 12 million Americans with a history of cancer who are alive. And each and every day, today, yesterday, tomorrow, there are 350 Americans who are celebrating birthdays that wouldn't have if cancer rates had remained as high as they were in the early 1990s. But there's another part of this story. It's a story that there are still 1.5 million Americans who will hear those words, "You have cancer." And sadly, over 500,000 Americans are still dying. And as Wade said yesterday, that ain't okay. Or as I saw on a t-shirt this morning, that sucks. Now, John Sefrin, our national CEO, said that because of our accomplishments and the progress in the leadership of the American Cancer Society, we have put on our own shoulders the moral imperative to do more. I think that's John's way of saying it ain't okay. Now, I want to give you a little context about what has been happening within global health. Could we show a video, please?
Visualization is right at the heart of my own work too. I teach global health. And I know having the data is not enough. I have to show it in ways people both enjoy and understand. Now, I'm going to try something I've never done before. Animating the data in real space, with a bit of technical assistance from the crew.
So, here we go. First, an axis for health. Life expectancy, from 25 years to 75 years. And down here, an axis for wealth, income per person, $400,000, $4,000, and $40,000. So down here is poor and sick, and up here is rich and healthy. Now, I'm going to show you the world 200 years ago, in 1810. Here come all the countries. Europe brown, Asia red, Middle East green, Africa south of Sahara blue, and the Americas yellow. And the size of the country bubbles show the size of the population. And in 1810, it was pretty crowded down there, wasn't it? All countries were sick and poor. Life expectancy were below 40 in all countries. And only UK and the Netherlands were slightly better off, but not much. And now, why start the world? The Industrial Revolution makes countries in Europe and elsewhere move away from the rest. But the colonized countries in Asia and Africa, they are stuck down there. And eventually, the Western countries get healthier and healthier. And now we slow down to show the impact of the First World War and the Spanish flu epidemic. What a catastrophe! And now I speed up through the 1920s and the 1930s. And in spite of the Great Depression, Western countries forge on towards greater wealth and health. Japan and some others try to follow, but most countries stay down here. Now, after the tragedies of the Second World War, we stop a bit to look at the world in 1948. 1948 was a great year. The war was over, Sweden topped the medal table at the Winter Olympics, and I was born. But the differences between the countries of the world was wider than ever. United States was in the front, Japan was catching up, Brazil was way behind. Iran was getting a little richer from oil, but still had short lives. And the Asian giants, China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indonesia, they were still poor and sick down here. But look what is about to happen. Here we go again. In my lifetime, former colonies gained independence, and then finally they started to get healthier and healthier and healthier. And in the 1970s, then countries in Asia and Latin America started to catch up with the Western countries. They became the emerging economies. Some in Africa follows. Some Africans were stuck in civil war and others hit by HIV. And now we can see the world today in the most up-to-date statistics. Most people today live in the middle, but there are huge differences at the same time between the best of countries and the worst of countries. And there are also huge inequalities within countries. These bubbles show country averages, but I can split them. Take China, I can split it into provinces. There goes Shanghai. It has the same wealth and health as Italy today. And there is the poor inland province Guizhou. It is like Pakistan. And if I split it further, the rural parts are like Ghana in Africa.
And yet, despite the enormous disparities today, we have seen 200 years of remarkable progress. That huge historical gap between the West and the rest is now closing. We have become an entirely new converging world. And I see a clear trend into the future. With aid, trade, green technology and peace, it's fully possible that everyone can make it to the healthy, wealthy corner.
Well, what you just seen in the last few minutes is a story of 200 countries shown over 200 years and beyond. It involved plotting of 120,000 numbers. Pretty neat, huh?
Most of the progress that has been made over the last 200, and especially over the last 50 years, in global health has been the addressing of communicable diseases. The challenge in this century is addressing non-communicable chronic diseases like cancer. And steps are being taken. Just last week, I had the honor of being part of the American Cancer Society delegation to the United Nations, which for the first time in history has proclaimed chronic diseases a global health priority. So we are going to make progress between 350, 1,000, and 10,000 lives saved globally. But it's not going to be because of proclamations. It's going to be because there is a movement, a global movement that is going to change the course of cancer and other diseases. And I believe for cancer, that movement is going to be through Relay for Life. And the reason I believe that is because look at what it already does. It involves our youth. I'm with my daughters from Texas A&M, Aggie Land Relay. Whoop. I'm glad that I caught them before or after the spooning. But last night you heard the reach that we have with our young colleges, high school students. That is going to pay dividends long into the future. Relay has also been a platform to spread our message of prevention and early detection. This is me with Dr. Avatz, who is a board member of the High Plains Board and a relayer, who also was the doctor who removed my polyps before they might have become cancers. And the message of survivorship. This is Sherilyn Pollard in Munster, Texas, who took her message of her survivorship across the state, across our division, and across the world. She and the others, heroes of hope, who we celebrated last night, have defined a new meaning for what it is to have cancer and to be a survivor. In And look what Relay does in communities that are far away. This is Guam, across the ocean, the other side of the international date line. You go to Guam and you go to Relay, and there is nothing else happening on that island. They are all at Relay. And look what Relay has done for some of our most important mission initiatives. It was the first sponsors of our Cancer Prevention Study 3. The first recruits were Relayers. And the Cancer Prevention Study 3 will build on the cancer prevention studies that started in the 1950s. And they will give us the answers to what causes cancer and how we can prevent it. And Relay has brought us an army, thousands of advocates who have fought for and won smoke-free communities, more access to health care, and more research dollars. And as Rule said yesterday, sometimes Relay does more than just fight cancer. It actually can help heal communities. And we've seen example after example, like again in Virginia Tech after the student shootings, or 9/11 in Waco, where the community came together, or in the Gulf Coast after hurricanes Katrina, Rita, and Ike. Relayers brought the community back together around messages of hope. And sadly, our division this year also had tragedy. We can show the next video, please.
Blitzer in the Situation Room. The John King USA starts right now.
Among those volunteering to help, to try to rescue people, to help with the search and rescue operations in Joplin, Missouri today was Grant Deardorff. Grant went there as soon as he could after the storm. He also photographed the tornado's destruction and submitted some of those photos to CNN iReport. He was at home in nearby Webb City when the tornado hit. Grant, let me just start by asking you, so you live nearby, you were not hit directly. Why did you decide to go out and head to Joplin when you heard the big tornado had hit?
Well, I wasn't really sure of the state of Joplin at the time. My wife was feeding my one-year-old son, and I looked at her and I just said, I think I need to go help. I don't know what's out there, but I brought my camera with me, and I thought I was going to take pictures of some down signs and missing awnings, and I was really surprised when I saw the destruction, and I knew that help was the most important thing.
When you say help was the most, take me through your day today. What did you do to help, and any successful rescues?
Well, first I'd like to actually say that my prayers are with the people of Joplin and the community. I actually work for the American Cancer Society, and part of what we were doing today is trying to formulate a plan of what we can do to help cancer patients in the area. And if a cancer patient that used to get treatment here at St. John's or in the area can't get treated, they can call our 800 number at 1-800-ACS-2345 and figure out how to get treatment. The rest of the day today was actually checking on some friends. We've got some friends that work at Christ in Youth. They lost their homes, making sure that people were okay in my family and in the surrounding community. And knowing that the search and rescue people are out doing what they do best and hopefully finding more people.
And Grant, as you took your photos, you submitted many of them to CNN iReport, and there's some pretty dramatic images there. What jumped out at you? Which image struck you the most?
The image that stuck with me the most was the image where I was up on top of a hill behind where Aldi and Walmart used to be, and I was looking off to the west, and I could see all the way to the horizon, and I could see St. John's and just the path of destruction. And in front, there was a water plume from the Aldi's that was gone, Academy and Walmart were demolished, and there was a pickup truck that somebody had stuck an American flag in the tailgate of. And as I looked at that, as the sun was setting, it reminded me of the hope of Americans, the hard work and determination, and of all the countless volunteers, just the regular men and women of the community and neighbors that went out to dig their friends and dig their family out of rubble, make sure they could help everybody that they could. And to me, that image was an image of hope, that despite all of the destruction that's here today, we're still going to stand strong and come together as a community, and I think the American flag represents that hope very well for us.
Grant Deardorff, appreciate your time tonight and appreciate your dramatic submissions to CNN iReport. Grant, take care, and God bless for helping out with the volunteer effort in Joplin.
Grant. Go ahead. Yeah, Grant really does show that for our staff, helping people is more than just a job. We were also, one of our staff was actually their home was hit by the hurricane in Joplin. This is Ted Easley, who survived with his wife by taking refuge in their bathtub. But they survived, and a while later I called Ted to see how he was doing. You won't believe what he was doing when I called. He was walking a track, getting it ready for a relay. And like Ted, Joplin, as you heard last night, just a month and a half after the tornado, they held their relay and again brought together a community. And we again recognize and one of the things I loved about the story about Joplin was there was never a question of whether they were going to have a relay. They were going to do it. But they did do one thing that I think was absolutely appropriate. They decided they weren't going to have separate teams. They were going to have one team walking the track on behalf of the community. Again, thank you all, Joplin, for your inspiration. And sometimes disaster strikes halfway across the world. But because of our relay family, brings it close to home. I'd like to share this video with you.
Relay has been a catalyst for hope in times of strife. Earlier this year, when earthquakes devastated our country and all seemed uncertain, Relay helped our communities come together, not just to fight cancer, but to support one another in an impossible time. And believe me, Japan will not stop relaying until cancer is no more.
That's Yoko, who was addressing our National Relay Summit in July. And just last week, in the town that is closest to the nuclear reactor, they held a relay indoors, but there were 1,300 relayers there. So it is obvious to me the power of relay and its importance to the movement to save more lives, both in this country and across the world. But why do I relay? Why relay? And I have a story. Like all of you, I have a story. Part of the story is Lynn Hancock, who's here in the back. She's our board chair for the High Plains Division. She came to the American Cancer Society because the Great American Smokeout helped her quit smoking. And she has paid us back by giving us a lifetime of volunteer leadership. So Lynn, we'd like to recognize you. In the back, just wave. You also see Senator Roz Baker from Hawaii Pacific. Our board chair from Hawaii, cancer survivor, but she's also been a leader in fighting for legislation like making Hawaii 100% smoke-free, and we appreciate her. And she is a relayer as well. I also relay for Papa Joe and Maribel, my wife's parents who died far too early. Tracy, who we talked about last night, but reminds her life, her family remind us we haven't done enough. I relay for Chris Pablo. He was the board chair in Hawaii who fought 2 different cancers before he died, and I was always honored when he would call me his brother. And sometimes we relay for people we don't actually know. This is the 4-year-old daughter who died of cancer of our guest yesterday from Australia. And I relayed for my wife, a melanoma survivor. Isn't she beautiful? And I relay for my daughter-in-law, who is now being treated for stage 4 bile duct cancer. So Mike Dany, I'm Mike Dany, and I relay.